Three, two, one. Hello, Sam, and welcome to the Make Life Rich Movement podcast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Sarah, for having me. Nice to meet you.
You guys, we're in for a really big treat today because, well, how do I say this? Sam has recently gone viral. That's how I came in contact with her and her account. And she went viral because she owns a pay what you wish art supply store as well as an art studio and we'll say an education center. She provides a lot of classes, pop-up events. And I was just so enamored with the whole concept and then her just beautiful, bubbly personality. So here we are. And I'm so excited that we get to have this conversation today.
Yay, the internet.
Woo! Woo! I love the internet for this exact reason alone.
Exactly. Yeah, it's bonded us from near and far.
Yes. So I would love to know what your earliest art or crafting memory was.
Oh, that's a good question. So I've been raised in a creative family. My dad's an artist. My great grandmother's an artist. Pretty much everyone in the family has been creating. One of my early memories, I actually have the picture of it, but I remember the moment doing it too. I was sitting at my grandparents' coffee table. We lived with them for a little bit, or dining room table. And I had one of those like stamping sponges, but instead of like dipping the sponge in the paint, I was painting on the paint onto the stamp. Very like, I'm a very messy artist. So seeing that moment as a child is very funny to me. Cause like, I definitely was not precise after that, but I just was concentrated. So I remember creating that. I remember sitting on my grandmother's lap and her teaching me how to crochet, when I was probably 4 or 5, like I was little. But yeah, my grandfather made me an easel that had like a big roll of white paper at the top. And my parents taught me how to reload it and then pull it off and tear it off and keep drawing. So literally as little as I could scribble, I remember standing there and like doodling on it, tearing it off. And my dad had like the rolls of my drawings in his bedroom that like were nothing, but he cherished them. So yeah, since I was teeny tiny, I've been creating.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I knew it was in your core. I could tell. It's just
been there.
everyone has the art bug when they're young, but for it to carry through, it means that it was really special to you at a young age.
Yeah.
And I thought I had that feeling.
Yeah.
I would love to know when you were kind of like growing up in life, I'm sure your propensity for art led you to want to go to art school. Was there a moment where in art school you were kind of like, how do I wish to sadly make a career from this because that's how life works?
Yeah. So I, even going to art school, so I went to a liberal arts college, so it actually wasn't a conservatory. It had a fine art major. So I went thinking I would double major in something else, but then once I was in my program, I just loved it so much that I was like, oop, nothing else, just this. And I chose the fine art track, not the digital art or the, what do they call that? The other one. I don't know, like the digital art design track. I didn't pick that, which a lot of my other art friends did because that was like the way you make money. I was like, no, I'll figure something out. So during school, I had always had this thought of like, I'll figure it out, whatever it was. My parents, my moms specifically always helped me keep that mindset. And like, my dad was the opposite. He was like, what's your career going to be? And I'm like, we'll see. How about that? Isn't that exciting? Come along for the ride. I'm 18. Let me figure it out. So in school, I kind of discovered even just more of my entrepreneurial spirit. I'd done a lot of traveling growing up overseas and had to raise money for those trips. So I kind of was always in fundraising and always went to private schools. So was deep in the fundraising world of it. And then in college, just kind of knew I would figure it out. And I ended up graduating in 2015 with my bachelor's in fine art. My senior thesis show was about my travels in 4 different countries doing creative work. And so I had this vision after I graduated to continue. My name of my show was called Art Across Borders. And I made that my original LLC business. And I just had this vision of doing mobile events, doing art, I bought a Volkswagen bus right after I graduated, like a year later. That's like a whole long story. But so Flow, my Volkswagen bus was my mobile art studio. And so that was kind of like, I took the summer after I graduated, I moved home. My parents, my mom and stepdad were gracious enough to like not pressure me to get a job. They were like, okay, your student loans haven't kicked in yet. You can like take a break. It was the only time like I could just make art for art's sake and not homework. So that was really exciting to me. And then, yeah, the vision just kind of came and I acted upon it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful. And the fact that you had the time to make art for art's sake and then have now turned it into a career where you not only get to make art for art's sake, but help others make art
I
for
know.
art's sake. I will cry right now. Like, it's
Let
such a
it out,
beautiful
girl.
full circle moment. Guys, strap in because
I
this
know.
episode is going to be juicy with the tears. It's so beautiful what you're doing.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, you're so
I would
sweet.
love to know what countries you were visiting and kind of what impact that had on you as a young American
Oh
kid
my
and
god.
like what thought processes began to change.
Yeah, yeah. That's like, oh my gosh, it's a huge like chunk of my life. So let me get those files out. Yeah, so it started. I went to Ecuador. I did work there on mission trips as a kid in high school. And then my freshman year of college, I was invited to go teach art in a school that my friends were teaching at down there. So I was there for a month. And that was really the start of it all because in that culture, there's not a ton of creativity in the demographic that we were with because it's a lot of survival and,
Yeah.
you know, making money for their families. So, but it was really interesting to meet the kids who kind of had this innate ability within them and their own creative spark flourish when we came into their classroom. I get chills talking about it because it's like so special to watch little kids just be like, oh, I can just like make to make. I don't have to like, they all wanted to see like an example, like what does the final product
Yeah.
look like? And we were like, no, it's not about that. Like, just have a good time with it. So that was hugely impactful in my life back then and just blew my mind and was like really why I really wanted to do more of that, offering creative outlets for kids who don't have it as much. So that was
Yeah.
I don't remember the years. I'm not going to even try what year that was. My freshman year of college, 2011, I think. 2012 was when we went. It was like after our freshman year. And then I did work. I'm going literally in my mind through, I had a gallery of my work. And so I broke it up in chunks of where I was. So I'm like mapping it out in my brain. So then I studied abroad in Italy for a
Ooh.
semester and, you know, honed my skills. That was a huge, immense, beautiful time in my life. But even that, like, the kids, I didn't work specifically with kids there, but just learning about that culture and learning like these kids are around ancient art all the time. They walk past it. Like what a different culture even than what our kids have access to here in the States, you know? So that was a time when a lot of like this stuff was incubating in me and I was just growing a passion for being abroad. Then I had an internship in Joplin, Missouri, where they were impacted by a tornado in 2011 and they were entirely, basically the city was wiped out. I worked for a group called Art Feeds. So they offered art and creative education for kids that were affected by the tornado. So that actually was the spark of me doing mobile events because they were given a mobile art center by Extreme Makeover Home Edition. And they use that to travel around and offer these outlets for kids. So that also impacted my life greatly. And then my senior year, I went to Niger, West Africa, and was there for a week. Very much like the biggest adult decision of my life because no one in my family wanted me to go. They were very afraid, understandably to a point. But there was a lot of like growing up that I did during that experience of like, nope, this is what I feel called to do. I have connections there. They're going to support me. They're going to be smart with me, for me. And we just have to trust that it's going to be okay. When I got back, like the week after, where I was staying then was hit by extremists who were like burning down the city. So it was a very extreme time. But I brought over 2 suitcases full of art supplies. So Nigeria is like the most underdeveloped country in the entire world. And we were in their slums of their city where we were living. So I was in a house with other people that had different protections and stuff as well. So we were safe as much as you could be. But got to experience even like drawing in the sand with kids that were out there and see them just have their own creative juices flowing outside of any influence that we brought. So yeah, it was really beautiful to see. And then when I got back from that, graduated college, was looking at my life and trying to see, okay, how can I still be impactful and now make a living for myself? It was a hard thing to switch from now I have to support myself. So initially I had the vision of Art Across Borders would continue to support these organizations I was working for, but it really did shift to, okay, I have to support myself right now. I have bills to pay. My heart is still with these people and with these groups, but I'm going to find a way to support my local community and just be a part of something here or create something here. So yeah, very condensed
I love it.
4 years, but yeah, that's
I love
the
it.
gist of it.
It's beautiful. And I wonder in those moments of you, like, repeatedly, no matter where you went, recognizing that art was the spark that could bring life and joy to situations that are otherwise perilous.
Yeah.
And also, art can be used as a way to crumble systematic oppression and give children the insight that they can create and they are capable of doing things and they don't need to always
Yeah.
follow instructions or directions and they can
Yeah.
live outside of these means. I think it's so beautiful that you then took all of that and came home and decided, like, I have to be realistic about where I can put my best efforts, and my
Yeah.
best efforts are being served here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really beautiful conclusion to come to that I'm sure was really hard
Yeah.
after
It
seeing
was.
and being in these spaces.
Yeah. I had really gotten used to traveling often but it's just so different once you graduate college and you kind of have to start your life. And,
Yeah.
I come from a very supportive family and we are, middle class, whatever, like, but they weren't going to fund my life to
Yeah, you
go.
don't have a trust fund
Yeah,
sitting
exactly.
around so you can just be
Correct.
off
Right.
doing
Exactly.
endeavors. Totally get it.
Yeah. But even in these last couple years, like, it's just so affirmed, like, nope, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. And my whole life, I've seen a lot of affirmations come through. I find little hearts everywhere. Like, and whenever I see them, I know I'm like being loved by the universe or God, whatever I believe in at this time. It just is like, you're where you're meant to be. You're doing good. It's just like that little moment. Now I see it more in numerology, which is why I do the angel number
Yeah.
thing at checkout. But it's been like, I don't look for those things. Obviously they just show
Yeah.
up and it's just like, okay. It's just like that exhale of like, oh, okay, I'm good.
Yeah. And I love that. I think I had a similar awakening of sorts in leaving my very small town to go to college in Philadelphia. And it was day and night, completely different. And I think the thing that every young adult needs to go through is recognizing and being completely immersed in someone else's suffering and in someone else's circumstances,
Absolutely.
because it not only gives you a taste for gratitude,
Yeah.
but it also gives you a good old fucking wallop of sympathy, which
Yeah.
I think is so needed, and empathy to be able to move through your day without harming others.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of sounds like that's
Absolutely.
where your
Oh my gosh.
journey
Totally.
culminated.
Yeah, I am such an advocate for people going abroad and living outside of their comfort zones and not just doing the tourist side of things. Because that it just changes your perspective. Like, things just like don't matter in the way that people think that they do. Like, yes, people have opinions about things. It's like once you've like visited people or experienced people's stories, people cutting you off on the highway just like doesn't matter anymore. It's just like, okay, we live on. It's okay. We can live and learn. And it's sad to see some people get so caught up in like these mundane things that just don't freaking matter anymore. So yeah, that's really impacted my mindset a ton. And it was even an important thing for me to bring home to my family and like educate them and be like, let's look at a map. Let me show you where I was in Africa. And oh, because it was also during the Ebola crisis. And so I
Mhm.
had to teach them, like, there's not inter-country travel, like there is interstate travel. Niger is like three Californias in one. Like it's a huge country, but on a
Wow.
map it looks so small. So like our mindset is just so, you know, a particular way. Um,
Mhm.
so then to kind of grow that empathy for my family and be like, they're just reacting to how they've been trained to react.
Yep.
So if I can introduce another way of thinking, that's
Mhm.
my role in this family. And that I do that
Mhm.
every time I travel abroad. Like I do the slideshow, everyone come sit, I'm showing you pictures of where I stayed. We're gonna talk about it. You're gonna not gasp at where I slept. Like when I showed them like where I slept in Ecuador, we
Yeah.
stayed in our friend's home that was like this sweet little cinder block house, and me and my friend shared the bed. Um, the bed was broken. It was like a time. They were like, they literally gasped at the picture. And I was like, this
Mhm.
is someone's home that like they're very proud of. So
Mhm.
you have to have a little respect for that. And yes, it's jarring at first, but like, this is just the world. This is how it is. Yeah.
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 Literally.
Yep.
It's so beautiful that you've made that your assignment in your family. Kind of like the
Mm,
black sheep slash teacher is always a really great place to land, especially with your Taurus energy. It's
yeah.
like this is your purpose
Yeah.
to help expose others to different ways of being and acting, which
Yeah.
I think is so beautiful that you use the medium of art.
Mm, yeah.
There's just like the method there of being able to take someone out of their bad day, children especially.
Yeah.
What importance was there to you in bringing a teaching art space to your community?
So it was really interesting because after I graduated college, I was hired by, I had a lot of different small jobs, part time jobs, all while I was trying to start a business. I worked for a local paint and sip studio that had just opened. I was her first employee ever. And in doing that, I worked with kids, I worked with adults. But it was in teaching the adults actually that I had this new sense of like, oh, maybe this is kind of where I want to spend more of my energy. Because kids here are given the supplies, they have the resources. Most schools have classes, even though they're not great. Like it's
Mhm.
here. They have access to YouTube. Like there are
Mhm.
resources here that like most other people don't have or places. But it's the adults that I discovered were so hard on themselves. Like they would be so critical of what they were working on. I'm like, y'all, I have a 4-year degree and so much debt. Of course my painting's going to be better than yours. Like you're here for 2 hours. Like it's
Mhm.
okay, you know, and just to work through that with them opened up my eyes to like, oh, we need a space for people to come and be experimental, not have to follow what the teacher was doing. And yeah, and so that's actually where my mobile business, I did all of that mobily first for
Mhm.
whatever, how many years, 4 years. Um, and that was really the heart of it all. I introduced workshops that were medium based, not end result based. So if we did like a string and nail art class, I would say bring the picture you want to work on and I'll help you make it happen.
Mhm.
If there was a step by step thing, it was like macrame or something where it's like, okay, you can't be too hard on yourself. Like we just have to practice patience. And so,
Mhm.
it was in seeing that in this area and in adults in our culture, listening to people say over and over again, like, I can't draw a stick figure or I can't draw a straight line with a rule. I don't know why they're Southern. I'm in New Jersey.
Mhm.
But it drove me crazy. I was like,
Mhm.
guys, just try it. It's going to be okay. You'll be fine. You'll figure it out.
Mhm.
Let me help you figure it out. That I've been so excited to watch people grow and actually step outside of their comfort zones and find a new like medium that they love. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's the answer to
That's so cool.
that.
I identify very deeply with being one of your students. My
Mm-hmm.
husband has a fine arts degree.
Okay.
He's a sculptor, like he's made like
Mm-hmm.
movie sets, like he
Oh
can
my
do
gosh.
I could be like, "Here, do something with this art
Yeah.
MacGyver," and it would be gorgeous.
Yep.
And we decided during COVID we were going to start painting because we were cooped up in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I had a lot of shadow work happening in that moment. Just a lot of
Mm,
like tapping back in and being like, who do I have to heal right now? Because I got nothing else to do.
yep. Yep.
And I wanted to be creative. We started with coloring and crayons, and I grew bored of that. I wanted it to be harder.
Yeah.
The perfectionist in me could not turn
Mm,
off. I needed it to be difficult, a challenge. So we started with oil paints,
nice.
and I wanted to paint a marsh scene from behind our house.
Okay.
And in doing so, he whipped up such a gorgeous Bob Ross-esque situation to my left, and I'm over here
Yep.
like blotting it, like I feel silly. And that internal struggle
Mm,
was so prevalent. And if
yeah.
I didn't have someone that loved me and
Yeah.
supported me, being like, hey, it's not about
Right.
that. Let's just enjoy this. Like,
Right.
what's going on?
I
The
know.
reparenting of yourself and your criticisms and your perfectionism through art is a really cool way to go about it. And I love so much that that was what you picked
Mm,
up as a way that you could serve others
yeah.
because we're always following rules. We're always told color in between the lines. And
Yeah.
from such a young age, it
Right.
puts such a pressure on everything, including things like art that should not be graded
Yeah.
or cost money and
Right.
should be free and fun.
Right. And as the kid who just was innately creative, was the one given all the creative projects in the group class or group project, like I it took me until I was whatever 22 to see like, oh, people are, I mean, I saw it a little bit in college, but to see adults like really be so hard on themselves, I was like, whoa, it doesn't matter, like it's
Yeah.
okay, like there, it's incredible where your self-critic or inner critic will emerge from through, right, like you're saying, like something beautiful like art making, like and there to be so many ways, like people cut off like the entirety of art making because they
Hmm.
can't draw realistically. And that is like the smallest thing on the spectrum of what you can do.
Hmm.
But for whatever reason, that's what everyone's caliber is. And it's so
Hmm.
dumb because it's like
Hmm.
you don't have to do that. Like that's a skill set that you could actually learn if you wanted to.
Hmm.
It like
Hmm.
it took me however many classes. Like you take classes to learn these things like anything else. So you're not a prodigy. How what percentage of people are prodigies? Like who cares?
Yeah.
It gets me riled up.
It, no, for sure. I mean, like there's so many Instagram accounts where it gives you like 12 steps to draw like a cartoon character. And I
Yep.
saw Bluey. My niece and nephew are obsessed. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna draw Bluey. It's gonna be amazing.
Yep.
So I'm on the iPad, I'm like going at it, and my husband knows I'm doing this. He's in the other room and he comes in and he like lays down and he's like, are you done? And I'm like, almost. And I'm so proud, right? Like I'm like, oh my God, this is like identical, okay? He looks at it and he's like trying so hard, and he's such a
Oh,
sweet soul. He would never laugh. And he
no.
goes, I can't stop thinking that it looks like Alibaba Bluey. And I was like, oh no. Oh man, like I was having
I
so much
know.
fun. And
I
he's
know.
like, no, 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 like it's just a joke. But in all honesty, you'd
Yeah.
need to go to class to be able to draw Bluey perfectly the first time. Like I
For
went
the
to art
first time.
school
Right.
and
Like,
I
that's
can't
the
draw
thing.
Bluey perfectly the first time.
Right.
Like get over it.
No. And that's the fun thing that I try to encourage like on my page and just in my world is just like letting people find their creative spark in whatever medium that is. That doesn't even have
Mhm.
to be making art. It can be baking. We have a cookie decorator who is like so talented and teaches classes here. Like so I try to bring in lots of different mediums to kind
Mhm.
of show people like find your thing. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
drawing. Like I don't
Yeah.
even like drawing. It's like
Yeah.
I paint, when I have to because it's another one of my side gigs that I'll do, but it's,
Yeah.
not my favorite, but it's something I can do. It's just tools.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
I love how many tools you do provide for your community. So, can you run us through all the different programs that you offer? I want to save the thrift for the very
Okay.
end because
Yeah,
we'll
yeah, yeah.
get into that whole thing. But
Sure.
I love how many classes you have
Hmm.
and the different categories they fall into and your art camp. I'm so
Yeah.
sad I'm far away. I would come in a second.
Oh my gosh, you should come stay up here. I have a place that you can stay. We're friends with a space that has an Airbnb, so I'll tell you about that. All right, I'm literally pulling
Okay.
up my calendar because I can't remember everything. Okay, so we do sewing,
Okay.
pottery, painting, obviously oil painting. We have a certified Bob Ross instructor who does teach Bob Ross painting classes here. Yep. So he's here
So
twice a
fun.
month. It's so much fun. He's an amazing instructor too. Like people who have never painted before leave with something that looks like a really good painting. It's not just like a free for all. That's one of those classes that you have to pay attention to. It's not one of these like, how are you feeling? It's like, if you're
Yeah.
not listening, you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
But still people like, we have repeat customers who have probably taken like 15 of his classes. Like they have so many paintings at home.
I love that.
I said pottery. I have mini pottery as well on mini wheels. So I teach that. Um,
Cute.
we have, and we have also like visiting events. So we have like a medium who comes and does sessions with pet sessions and adult and human sessions. I do, excuse me, I do small business help as well. So I'll do like social media for your small business, stuff like that. Uh,
My Taurus queen. You are jack
well,
of
because
all
I'm
trades.
sick of people asking me how to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
That
take
too.
my class and I'll tell you.
Yeah, that too.
We have stained glass. That's one of our biggest
Ooh.
classes. Yep. We do
Yeah.
candle making. We're doing one called Creativity Through the Senses. So it's like meditation based. Yeah, we have like a real watercolor. We're doing one in July that's making beeswax wraps. So literally, like, I'll meet people and be like, "What do you make? Do you want to teach a class?" And just get them in here because then we have no competition because no one else is doing things like
Yeah.
this. And that's not why we're offering these things, but like
Yeah.
that's the bonus is like we
Yeah.
don't have to compete with the paint and sip down the street because we aren't doing any of those. They can go do them all.
I love so much that though in preparing for this conversation, I was going through some of your social media, some of your lives. The amount of times I've seen the phrase, you should franchise,
Oh my god.
you should charge more. Can you open one where I live?
Yes.
Like
I know.
you have, you like,
Oh my
I
god.
know that you state that you've come up with the thrift model based on what someone else and other people have
Mhm.
done. I appreciate that. I love that you give them their roses and their credit.
Yeah.
But what you have created is something entirely different. You live in a small town. You created a community space where people feel free to come and practice things, try new things, expand their horizons with their spirituality and how they feel about themselves. Like you've created a home base for joy and happiness to flourish. Like what does that feel like?
Oh, you're making me cry talking about it.
You should cry. It's
No,
beautiful.
it feels. I mean, the fact too now that we like going viral this past month. I felt this way before, but just finding our audience whenever anyone came in the door, before we hit this insane amount of people following us, people have felt like this is their home, right? This is their safe space that they can come to. They, this is something they've been wanting to create, but haven't had the opportunity to yet. And that's what I tell everyone who comes in. They're like, "Oh, I've been wanting to make something like this." I'm like, "Go ahead." Like, I am not here to gatekeep or keep
Hmm.
anything to myself. Like, whatever. You have
Hmm.
your own ambitions, and it's just really it. Oh, I might cry. My
Do it.
small little Sam, like that little girl sitting at the table, like painting. I think about her all the time because I always liked this entrepreneurial side of things too, and to see like because some artists can't do both. Like, and I get that it's a lot of work. It's like
Yeah.
a whole other outlet. Um, but to think about like, so this is a funny little story to add into this. When I Y2K, remember that year?
Hmm.
We had a party at my dad's house, and I wanted to sell my stickers to people coming. I was like, "Oh, great idea, Dad! I have these new Lisa Frank stickers. I would love to sell them to people." And he was like, "Sure, honey, let's set you up a little card table." So I like had the vision. I literally like could picture myself sitting at the table with a line of people, coming to check out and buying their stickers. And I set it all up. He helped me set it up. Damn well no one came and bought my stickers. Maybe some of his friends came over and talked to me, but I didn't have that line of people. And I was heartbroken. I was like, God damn. I was like, at like however old I was 7 in Y2K. I was like, oh man, I really thought this was something good. And like, even that thought continued on until into after college. Like the idea of like, oh man, this is a really good idea. Like I know people will love this. And it either be like slowly received or appreciated, but not how I expected it to. It's so hard. Like, even creating at all, when you have something in your mind of how you want it to come out, and then it's not, you
Mhm.
want it to look like Bluey. It's not
Mhm.
Bluey, it's his cousin. You just have to go with it, and you either give up, which a lot of people do, or
Mhm.
you adapt and you change your expectations even of yourself. So to be able to now sit back and be like, oh my gosh, I put this thing out and it's working, is like, I truly, I feel weird taking any credit, because I'm like, I've just been trying this whole time. I just
Mhm.
try in different ways. And
Mhm.
I was humbled even this weekend by the fact that I granted, I didn't put extra advertising out. I planned to do a reel about it, but I didn't. But I had a class about manifesting that didn't run. And my friend made the comment, which I was thinking was like, can you run a class about manifesting if you can't manifest attendees to come? I was like, no, you're right. I was surely humble, but I wasn't, but I felt okay about it. I needed a minute
Yeah.
this weekend. I was
Yeah.
really busy. It was fine. We'll
Yeah.
do it again.
The universe knew. The universe
Yeah.
knew. He's like, this is a trial run, okay?
Yeah.
We're good.
Hang on. Yeah. Don't get
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I love so much that you said that action and just you kept trying things. In manifesting, you get what you put out. And in the constant trying, you were just putting out more good energy that was
Yep.
going to bounce back at one point. And
Mm-hmm.
for it to have bounced back in this manner, I love so much for you. But you've been open for 2 years. What was the first year like before the virality when
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
you grinding in your local community to get this set up? What was
Oh
that
my
like for
God.
you?
So the first year, I had a lot of days where I was sitting downstairs making TikToks of myself trying to get people to come in the door. A lot of quiet days, no one coming in. Because I offer workshops as well too, like I would try to book multiple things throughout a weekend, but I only at the time had one space
Mhm.
downstairs. I'm upstairs now on our 2-floor space, but um, when those wouldn't run, I'd be there, like hanging out. I had a very small art supply thrift shop downstairs, and I had artists sell their work with me. That was like part of my initial vision, was I had the maker market. So, but we don't have, we're on a major road, so we don't have foot traffic. We're a destination location. So I have a sign on the main road, but it was quiet, and I, was just trying and would just have in my head like just different ideas, and I would try them out. I would just do my research trying to find other people to come teach. And I went from being open Thursday to Sunday. Now I'm open Friday to Monday. So I've just tried to like make things fit best for my life as well and not overwork myself.
Mhm.
Because I knew like I couldn't be open every single day. Like
Mhm.
it's just not sustainable for my life. And I don't think we would have the foot traffic to support it right now. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm still not going to be changing that anytime soon because I need days off.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first year was amazing for what it was. I'd never had a brick and mortar. It was pretty terrifying. Like week one, I sat downstairs. I remember and be like, I said I'd be here every day, didn't I? I was like, oh crap, I can't do anything on the
Mhm.
weekends now, But it was still so exciting because people, there's nothing like this. Like you said, like people, this is just like the inside of my brain, so people don't get to see that a lot.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it was still exciting, but in just a different way, and just to prove that I could do it and did it was the excitement of it all. Yeah,
Ugh. I love so much that you had a year to get things the way you wanted them, and then we'll say the last 3/4 of a year you've been fine tuning
yeah,
to then hit this moment of virality where people are seeing you in the current iteration that you're at.
yeah.
Were there any parts of you that were like, "Oh wait, like I'm not ready yet. Like no one look at me. This is not how I want it yet. Like
You
hold
know,
off."
there was a moment. So we had a shift of our space last year where we took over the upstairs space. My mom was originally sharing the space with me, and she ended up not using it anymore. So then I had to take over all of it. And that initial time was very scary because my initial concept was to have artist studios up here that people would rent. And when I put that out there to the people who had said they were interested in doing it, they all said no thank you.
Mhm.
And so that was plan A. I don't even remember plans B, C, D, and E. But I just kind of had to keep trying. I offered it as like rental space for other events, or, I just literally tried to think of everything possible, all within the span of like a month. But still, like, rent's due. So this space needs to be making me money somehow.
Mhm.
Um, then thank goodness it was like holiday time. So I ran 3 vendor markets and put all the vendors inside and filled this upstairs space with my vendors. So I was kind of always working it to be useful. But in that time, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is next? How am I going to make this work? And then, in very Taurus fashion, I love a last minute concept.
Mhm.
Love some pressure to get things
Mhm.
done.
Mhm.
We were using the outside. We have another barn on our property that we use. And I had put the art supply thrift in there. And that barn, though, doesn't have electric or heat. And it was November. And I was like, crap, we got to get this stuff inside for people to shop, or else it's literally useless out there.
Mhm.
So it was the night before I left for vacation. I had 5 of my friends come, and my one dear friend, Maggie May, she pointed out that there's a window up here that's like closest to the barn that is better than like carrying it around, going upstairs. So we made a pulley system and filled. My grandparents had also just given me like 40 reusable bags, because they do that
Nice.
like pay to everything and they give you free stuff in the mail. So I had like so many reusable bags, and they all filled the bags, hooked it up to a line, and I pulled it up to the window, and they unloaded it in the thrift now upstairs, because I knew I needed a project for the people helping me while I was away.
Mhm.
Like, I am an efficient person, even though I'm creative and chaotic. Like, I do crave efficiency and like
Mhm.
time well spent. So like,
Mhm.
I knew I didn't want the people here helping me for the weekend to just sit downstairs. Like,
Mhm.
I was like, no, they need a job, so let's make the thrift.
Yeah,
So
I
that's what we
love
did.
that.
We carried everything upstairs. It was hysterical. Like, Maggie had a carabiner that we used and clipped onto the bags, and oh my god, it was so funny. And so now, to answer your question, now that everything's here since November, I've really been kind of like tapping my foot, like, okay, all right, no, we're ready though. Okay, now we're ready though. So, and we had a great winter because we also made a second workshop space upstairs here, so I can have 2 classes going on at once, which was
So cool.
revolutionary.
Yeah,
um, and then once I hired my assistant, which I would love to share a bit about that as well too.
please.
Getting to hire her, I think, helped remove that block in my mind too of like even filming content up here, because I was like, oh
Mhm.
my god, it's such a mess. Like, things are just kind of here. But she used to own her own vintage shop. She's a merchandiser, and she just made the place look stunning. And
Mhm.
so we, in going viral, it wasn't like we weren't ready.
Mhm.
I was ready. We were ready for it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I
that's
love
the
it.
answer.
Gosh, no, to all the long. I don't. This can be as long as you'd like.
Long form. Here
So
we are.
I need to know. All right, so guys, the big bait here that I've been holding on to this whole time is that Sam turned this top floor and all of those art supplies that were in her barn into a pay what you can art supply thrift store.
Yeah, baby.
What? Go in. Please go in.
Yes. So I saw this concept years ago. My friend sent it to me. Look at what this place in Ohio is doing. I think it was Ohio.
Mhm.
It's called like Hello Creativity Art Center, something like that. There's another one called Indigo Hippo. Much love to them. They're still open. And I think Indigo Hippo is the one, though, that does a pay what you can scale. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh my God, that's freaking amazing. Like,
Mhm.
just, I love that. And even during COVID, before I even opened the studio, I was collecting art supplies from people, knowing someday I would do this. Had no
Mhm.
concept of when. I was like, I've got a basement. We can put stuff in it. It's fine. Um, because new people were cleaning out their basement or their houses during COVID time, so I was collecting all this stuff. Um,
So smart.
the It's funny because a lot of like that phrase, like, it's so smart. A lot of it were like building blocks from ideas. So like I
Mm.
started a very small secondhand section downstairs when it was just the first floor, and I priced everything. That drove me nuts. I hated doing that
Mhm.
because people were like, still, man, I don't want to pay like $3 for this thing. I'm like, oh, for God's sakes. So then,
Yeah.
you know, I packed it all up and then decided, you know what? I don't give a shit. Just pay me whatever you want for it because it's not my main thing, which is what
Mhm.
answers a lot of people's questions that I've seen posted. It's like, how do they? One guy said, "Is there rent? Pay what you can." It's like,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
so getting to this place of like, nope, pay what you want is really, I believe, like the karmic core of this space because it's truly it's the best for the community. It's the best for people getting rid of their stuff. It's best
Mhm.
for the landfill. And
Mhm.
it's best for me who doesn't actually care. Like I care so
Mhm.
much, but I don't care. like,
Mhm.
and it's been really just a win, whatever, however many avenues there are that can win. It's all of that.
Yeah.
Except for the person who is so riddled with anxiety on what to tell me they want to pay for it. They're the
Oh
only
my
ones
God.
suffering here.
You're real. I almost peed myself. I was like, guys, I'm gonna share it on the stories when this goes live. So please, you're gonna know. And the Dwight reel you made where the boyfriend's like, "Where are you going?"
I know. It's my
You're like,
favorite.
"You know where I'm
Oh
going."
my God. Yeah.
I like can't with you. Your reels are amazing. But I love so much that your focus was not only strategic but also like makes complete sense. It makes sense to take these things you know are going to end up in the trash
Yeah.
after Christmas,
Yeah.
after Halloween, like all these big holidays. There's always an influx of
Mm,
seeing construction paper and this
yeah.
and that in the trash. It doesn't need to go there. However,
When
there's
you're
not really a
sick of
place to
sorting
send
stuff,
it.
right? And when you're sick
Yes.
of cleaning, like,
Yes.
bless, when we were going through my grandparents' house after they passed, like, stuff that, like, a year ago we would have been like, oh, but we love it. It's like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
They're not here. They don't
Yeah.
care. It's okay. We have
Yeah.
to let it go. That people
100%.
get to that point. So we get it. Like, when you don't want to look at it anymore, it's
Yeah.
better for your own brain to just chuck it sometimes. But
Get rid of
we're
it.
that other
100%.
option now.
I love that. And you know what? It makes a lot of not only sense, but you're earning karma. Like, this is just a wheel of karma, just sucking it up in all the best places. Because when I first learned of your space, it made me think of when I was really small. We grew up
Mm.
in poverty. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was trying his very best. And then he got sick when I was really young. So it was just my mom working her balls off to try and make it work.
Yeah.
And this woman still found the time and the money to take us to a craft store. So we could just,
Mhm.
we loved crafting. She loved crafting. It was like what we did together. And I can remember those times where she wouldn't notice that I was catching her put stuff back because she saw us picking stuff up.
Mm,
And I thought about your space and how fucking cool it is that a mom who wants to do
yeah,
shit for herself
yeah,
can still go there and be like, go ahead, guys, let's respectfully pick what we want to play
yeah,
with. Let's not take more than we need.
yep,
And we'll come back again when you're ready to do a new project.
yep, yep.
Holy shit. I have goosebumps right now and it's 90 degrees outside. I
Yeah,
like
it's
the
so.
fact that you've created this is so beautiful for so many different people
Mm,
that need it and can't afford it, and to
yeah,
have the outlet of art still be at their fingertips
yep.
without sacrificing for something that they kind
Mhm.
of need. You're a saint. It's so
Oh my
beautiful.
gosh, you're very kind. Thank you. People who have come in are so gracious and thankful as well, and that's what, yeah, fills my heart every day. And people are coming from far, which I love. People want to mail their donations to me. I'm like, oh my God.
I was gonna ask because I'm sure people are gonna ask me. Oh
Yeah,
my God, I have a basement
yeah.
full. Can I send it to them? What can I do with it? So what's the answer?
Yeah. So the answer, we have a couple answers. So you're more than welcome to mail us stuff if you want to. I cannot pay for shipping though. That is the
No,
only thing.
it'd be your
Yeah.
donation.
Donation, exactly. So yes, our address is on my Instagram. You're welcome to ship stuff here. We take donations in person. Obviously, I have a donation bin on our front porch. If we're not here, there's like a little log. If you message me ahead of time, you can set up bringing stuff. If you have a lot of stuff, we'll probably put it directly in our barn has become like our intake zone now,
I love
our
that.
intake department. So that's like our donation barn. So that's where we've been taking stuff and then bringing it up here and sorting it when we can.
Mhm.
The other thing I'm going to be putting out actually is a guide to hosting a pop up of an art thrift for your own community. So I actually do them in nearish communities to me as fundraisers for different organizations. So I'll orchestrate the donation day and the sale, and then give a percentage of the sales to the group. And then I take all the supplies back to here to have as inventory. But I know that there are maybe some people who have resources and space where you can do this long term. And so I'm putting together like a virtual class seminar type thing that people can look out for. Yeah, that's going to kind of give you the things to look for, the things to implement, and the things to ask your own community for. Because I just think that this can be done other places. It's not just here. I don't, it doesn't, I don't care that I can't franchise something like that. I don't want to. I just don't believe that that's my job. And I think like, it's just so funny to be in this position too. I'm sure you get this as a business owner in general, people telling you like what you should be doing with your business. Even I get it from my family. Like I get it from all over the place, but I've been getting it from strangers now that I'm exposed to all these new people. But I have to just recenter and like, remember like, nope, this is not my goal. This is like, again, a branch of what I'm doing and what I want to do. This is like the corner of my mind. It's not even all of it. So I'm going to let it grow and give people the resources they need and answer questions as I can. But happy to answer them too.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it has to be, I was thinking about this before we got on and in preparing for our convo and just seeing that comment so many times. And in my own head, I thought, fuck, this would be sick. Like this, if this were everywhere. But the minute it becomes something that's everywhere and it's not done and led from a space of the soul wanting to serve, it's useless.
Yep.
It'll be another store where people go buy crap.
Yeah.
It's got to be based in heart and in purpose, which is the exact beautiful scenario and environment you've created for yourself. I think people are very tied to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's people out there who probably have a barn that they're like, yes, I will use this all year round for this. Like, no problem. Like, it gives me chills thinking about these people. Because I'm like, surely there's an opportunity. Oh, might cry. Because it's like, I wrote a poem about giving a maker space. When I asked my landlord if we could use the barn next door, because it was being unused before we took it over for the art thrift. When we got the okay to use it, my mind, like, I lost it. And it's a shit barn. Like, it's wet. Like, it's not, like, it's anything cute. But giving a maker space, like, when you have that opportunity, it is better than money. It's better than, it's better than a lot of things. And the opportunity is so exciting to think about. And I know I'm not the only person like this. So I just think like I don't have to do anything. It's out there. The concept's out there. People can do it on their own. But once I share it with people who want to listen to it, I'm sure these will be popping up all over the place, which I would love to see, right, when they're coming from this space. And if people want to turn it into something else, obviously the spaces that are pay what you can or are reuse centers that price their items, that's their main thing. Like most of them don't do workshops and stuff. So they have to have a budget and they have to make rent. They have to do these things. So obviously it makes sense. But if those spaces even can shift to maybe they do offer workshops so you can make it all pay what you can, this month has helped us because we had a slow spring. I know we're going to be okay because the thrift has been taking care of itself now and the rest of the space. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. What a blessing. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
I love it so much. If you were to give one, we'll say tip or something that if someone is looking, they're inspired by what you've done and they want to aspire to making their own space, what's one thing that you had no idea to think about that like you want to make sure they have a little nugget like planted in there?
Oh, that's so hard.
Maybe with donations. I can see my mom works at a thrift store. I know that donation life, it's not always the best stuff coming in. So like
I would say even to start, the main thing is surround yourself with people who are going to yes and you. That's like the comedy rule when you're doing stand up, or improv is you yes and your partners around you. So surrounding yourself with people who are that to you is
Hmm.
actually like the best position to be in, because they're going to give you ideas and the support you need to answer the questions you have, even or the doubts you have, or
Hmm.
anything else. My dear friend Karen Ald, she's like my business creative partner, my buddy, my mentor, my collaborator. We've created a coloring book together.
Oh, I
Um,
want to talk about that.
yeah, yeah. I should grab a copy. Oh, crap. Oh, can I grab it? Would
You
you?
can go get it. Yeah, go
Okay.
for the gold. I don't care.
Um, but when you surround yourself with people like her, who she from the start was like, "Oh, we need a space." I'm like, "A space, girl? That's rent." She's like, "Yeah, okay." When people are around you that have a shared vision and don't make things a big deal, it
Hmm.
is so empowering and encouraging. So if you're talking to your friends and they're like, "Oh God, that girl, that's never gonna happen," nuh-uh. Don't
Boot
talk to
them.
them. They don't. You don't have to give them the boot, but just don't talk to them about these things anymore. Like,
Hmm.
it's okay. They don't have to, because not everyone can look beyond their own fears
Yes.
to put aside their opinions about supporting
Yes.
you and what you've got going
Yes.
on. Everything is fear based, and it's
Everything.
really interesting. Even in this creative, happy world that I've created, there's still fear involved when people want to try to tell me a number, what they want to pay for things, or there's fear for me and like, how can you make this sustainable? And it's like,
Hmm.
I know myself and I know I work hard and I know I have
Hmm.
multiple outlets to support me. So that's a huge thing I would say is, if you are doing this, make sure you have great support and make sure you're okay with having multiple avenues of revenue. That's like the biggest thing.
Love that.
Because you can listen, if you want to just manifest that whole thing will support itself, fucking go for it. But
Hmm.
I knew that my whole life was comprised of different creative outlets and passions and business models that I knew this would work for me, because it was just one
Yeah.
of the branches of things. So, yeah.
You're such a special individual. This was totally meant for you. It's so cool to hear you explain it all like that. Okay,
Mm,
go get your coloring book
okay.
and I will
That,
explain to everyone what it's about because I'm obsessed with it. So, you created a coloring book with your friend called Color, Love, and Kindness, which I just love this theme so, so, so much. And all of these designs were hand drawn. So there's that. It's going to be a beautiful and very unique coloring book that I think everyone listening should order and get their little mitts on, because we all need a period of coloring. Like there's just such a release for your nervous system in coloring that I think as adults, we really don't insert enough activities that kind of do that for us mindlessly, while also kind of giving you a space to just be present but chill. So, coloring books, order it. You need it. I'm going to put a link for the show notes for the coloring book so you can purchase it. And I think the cool thing about not only being able to get this coloring book is that one, you are supporting another avenue of Sam's enterprise, but you're also giving yourself the excuse to be like, nah, bitch, I got to color my picture right now. I'm just going to sit and relax for a second here.
love that. I'm just going to
I
inhale
love
this mini muffin real quick.
go for the gold. So, with the coloring book, again, I'm just totally blown away by your ability to draw pictures that then can be colored on. So that's cool and fun. But where did the idea for the coloring book come into play? And tell us about your partner that was also involved in the book.
Yeah. So, Karen Ald, who I mentioned earlier, is my collaborator on this project. She had this idea during COVID because she did this meditation that's called Metta, and it's a Buddhist meditation that is all about sending love and kindness to 5 different groups of people. So during COVID times, when we couldn't go love on our people, it was really impacting her. And she
Hmm.
felt very isolated and felt very helpless, as a lot of us did. And so in doing this practice, it really gave her a lot of peace. Um, and then in getting to know me, we talk a lot about creativity, obviously, and being active meditators. And we kind of talked a lot about how I'm a very spiritual person, but I am not a sit still person. I don't even like to read because if my hands can be doing something, I want to be making something. So the last thing I read was the Twilight series in high school. So like since then, I've been wanting to create things. So we talked a lot about how in my creative practice, I get in a very meditative state once I'm in it. And she said, oh, what if we create a coloring sheet based on this meditation? And I said, great. So we have a class called Mindful Making that she and I offer here at the studio. And we made this coloring sheet for it. We involved other mediums as well that are more process based. And I don't have the original drawing in here because we expanded so much. But we included the meditation, which I'll read real quick if that's okay.
Yes, please.
So it goes through 5 different groups. Like I said, yourself, someone you love, a neutral person, a person you have a grievance with, and the world. So each time you say it, you put that person in the quote, which I'm about to say. So it goes, may I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well, peaceful, and at ease, happy, and free of suffering.
Oh.
And yeah, isn't that so beautiful? And then you kind of fit in each one. May they be filled with loving kindness. May they be well, peaceful, and at ease, happy, and free of suffering. So you kind of like plug in those different people throughout it. Mm-hmm. So when we were creating the coloring book, we decided to make it 52 pages so that there's one for each week of the year. So you could focus on doing it once a week if you wanted to, but there's really you don't have to do anything. You don't have to color it.
Do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want. But it was so funny, and even in the creating of this, there's a story because I have a lot going on. I have a lot of things going on. I have a lot of projects I'm working on, and bless Karen, she is so supportive and a kind tapping of reminding me of things that we've got going. And I got stuck about 30 pages into making this project. I was like, oh my God, I can't draw anymore. But I knew I just had to sit and give myself the time to do it. But it was a good thing that I did that because we were stuck on the printing part of it. We were like, how are we going to get this printed? Should we do it through Amazon? Like, we don't freaking know. Like, no one tells you how to do anything. No. Even Google doesn't tell you the right things sometimes. So it's like, what do we do? But in my procrastinating and in being an oversharer, I was talking to our Bob Ross instructor friend, Chris, and he works at a local print shop. He was like, oh, we print books like that all the time. I was like, shut up. And the price was like better than anything we had seen. And it was like so supporting a local business. We learned about the whole, he walked us through the process of it printing. He told us about their like recycling process as well. All the paper is bamboo. So it's like, we were like, oh my God. It's like, if you are ready to be hard on yourself about deadlines or whatever, there's usually a reason why that was happening. And this is it. Yes. So I'll flip through a couple of the pages. So there's a mix of, here's the cover, by the way.
So cute.
Yeah. And we laid it all out in Canva, not sponsored.
Canva is the go. I made all of my workbooks in Canva and they just come out looking like a school book. You're like, it's okay.
Because that was another process we were stuck on. Like, how do we lay it out? Where do we put it?
The Adobe. Oh, Adobe. Yeah, kick rocks, Adobe.
So this is the book. And then when you open it, this is our little intro. This is actually a QR code to my website. Oh, the light.
Smart.
And that goes to a video meditation of us actually talking through it. So you can see us and listen to us talking through the meditation. So that's the other thing, like partnering with people who like, again, yes, and you like, yes, let's make the coloring book. And she goes, and we're going to pay a really good videographer and make a video about this. I was like, that means I really got to finish this project.
Yes, I love it.
And then on the pages, there's a mix of like drawings where there are 5 different categories or 5 different objects you can kind of color through. And then there's also a mix of words. So like the actual meditation written out, so you can color them in. We made them one-sided, so you can journal on the other side if you want to.
Oh.
Or you can cut it out and then frame it or do whatever you want with it. Give it to someone, you know.
Obsessed.
And what else was I going to say about this? Oh, yeah. Then there's some that are just designs that I thought were fun, like a bus, obviously.
Aw, paying
So,
homage.
yep. And then we have our little story about us on the back, little drawings
Love
of
it.
ourselves that I did.
They were so cute. You were so talented. I was like, oh my God, that's her face.
Yeah.
I know her face, and that's her face. It looks like
And
it.
then a portion of our proceeds from the sale of this go to something I started called the Propagation Fund. That is
Mm.
a fund that we have here at the studio that people can apply for to help pay for their classes if they wanted to come to a class. So, because we have gotten comments before about the price of things, and I'm like,
Yeah.
girl, I'm in a thriving, not surviving era, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna
You
need
have to.
to cover not only my operating costs but pay myself. So crazy
Yeah.
concept. So to
Yeah.
make sure that we can still offer things, then we came up with that idea. So it gets fed into that. People can apply for that, a partial scholarship or a full scholarship once a year to be used on whatever they want. So
Oh.
our hope is to like always have funds available,
Mm-hmm.
and the money from this goes to that. But yes,
Love
that's a
it.
bit about this super fun project. You can buy it in studio or online.
Love it.
It's linked
We'll
on my
put in the
Instagram.
show notes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. But it's
Love
a
it.
great gift. And oh, that's what I was going to say. The color, I think you were saying it before too. The pages are very accessible. Like they're not detailed. Those freaking adult coloring books that are like mazes to color.
The mandala ones, they give me a headache. I can't do it.
No, like this is, I think, our busiest page. And it's like, that's it. Like you don't
Yeah.
even have to do all of it.
Yeah. I can't go. I like, if I've had an edible or a little poof poof before I'm coloring, I can't be getting dizzy trying to like make it through. It's supposed to be relaxing. Okay. Like
No, and like here,
opposite.
like you can get to see this. Like you can follow the words. Like you get
Oh,
like
I
a
love
little
that.
spiral. Have
And
fun
that's so
with
like sentimentally the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s right there. Like that touched me. I love that page.
it. Yeah, so it's super fun, and yeah, we would love for you guys to check it out. And one of the other
Oh,
ways you can support us.
yeah. I would love to know when and where did the name Propagate come from? Was
Mm.
that before or after the thrift?
Oh, it was way before. So
Really? Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
It came from one day. One day, I was driving down the road, and I was just trying to think of the concept of the feeling I had when I was in art school in the studio with my other student mates, classmates, and we fed off of each other. We were feeding
Mhm.
off of our energy, good or bad. Late nights trying to get stuff done. My senior year, we had a horse barn on our campus that all of the seniors had a stall in as like our studio. And it was
Oh,
so fun because we can kind of just like pop in and out. So that feeling of like taking something from someone else and growing it within yourself.
yeah.
I was just like looking for a word that
I
explained.
love it.
And so
It-
we get mistaken a lot for a plant shop, which
For
is
sure.
fine. We send people down the road to our friends at the Rooted Lion. Um, but I love the concept of like taking a bit of something and growing it into something else. So we grow our creativity here, not plants. I don't keep plants alive very well,
Yeah.
ironically. So that's where that came from.
Oh my God. The minute I saw the name and because of the reel I saw first, I knew you were a thrifted pop-up and or a thrifted pay as you wish. And I literally started crying because I was like, holy shit, she is the mama plant, and people are coming and
Yeah.
getting their supplies to go and make their own art. So the fact that this name just still fits
Yeah.
so perfectly because you're serving in every avenue to encourage others to create, which, like, God bless you. So
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you so much.
So obsessed with you. Guys, if you have any questions, as Sam said, let's not bombard her, but please make use first of all of the business guides and all the things she's created before you go asking some questions, right? It's the rule of three. You look up three times before you ask the person an answer you could easily Google, okay? So let's reserve very specific questions for the people you're asking them of, and that's just a PSA.
Oh my God, can you like send me the recording of you saying that? Because I'm gonna post that. Because truly, the amount of times I got to a point when people ask for our address where I say it in the comments, I say it in my profile. I
Uh-huh.
I just started answering them. 'Cause I'm like, I do want you to come, but I'm like, oh my God, people don't read.
They're so lazy. Still like, just like do a little poking around before you
Look,
bother a very busy business owner, okay,
just like
guys?
real
Just
quick.
PSA.
Bless your
PSA.
heart. Thank you for that.
For real. But I'm obsessed with you. I will be coming up as soon as my little feet can get
Please.
up there. And just thank you for existing. Thank you for taking a leap and following your heart and creating this space that has not only helped your community, but I'm sure you're going to get messages over the next year and years to come that people have opened a space because you
Mm,
exist,
oh my gosh.
just like the other studios that you mentioned that did it for you. And it's
Yeah.
just, I'll be watching. I'm so excited to follow your journey. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Can I plug our art camp real quick?
Please plug
Okay,
whatever you
great.
want.
So we have an adult art camp coming up in July and August. I've made it the most accessible camp you'll ever be able to come to because you can come to 1, 3, or 5 days of camp. In July and August, you can mix and match. And you can come to our morning, afternoon, or evening session and mix match those. So
So
whatever
smart.
works for your schedule, you
So
make
smart.
it work. And we have each day of camp is a different theme. That's all on my website of what we're doing, but we're doing mindfulness. We're going to be painting some murals. We're going to have the coloring book as one of the activities the one day. We'll do
Love it.
pottery. We'll
Oh,
do working in the thrift. We'll take stuff from the thrift the one day and make stuff. So many good things. And if you're coming from far, like I know you live kind of far, if you wanted to come out, we do have friends in the area that own an Airbnb. They're called the Harmony Mountain House, and it's this adorable Airbnb in the woods up here. It's like 15 minutes away. And yeah, during the week, they typically don't have any bookings, so it would be really perfect to
yeah.
come out.
Oh my
But we
God.
would love to have you guys. There's lots of amenities in the area, lots of cute small towns. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere when you're on this road.
Yeah.
It feels like you're in the middle of like Indiana or something, but there's
I
lots
love
of great
that.
resources around. And we would love to have you come out and create. There are 3-hour sessions, and it's a great time. It's our second year doing it, so would love to have more folks come join us. But thank
Oh,
you so
you're
much for
amazing.
having me. I appreciate
Of
you so much
course.
for reaching out. And
Oh
sorry
my
you
God,
were
of
stuck in my
course.
spam folder for a little bit.
No, no, you're fine. You're fine. And I have one final question for you that I ask all my guests. Sam, how do you make your life rich?
uh, I make my life rich by offering my creative space and outlets to others and offering
Oh,
my resources to everybody else.
oh, I knew it and I love it. You're an angel and such a treasure. Thank you so much for being you and living your life out loud so it can benefit others. And you're inspiring so many people to do the same, and it is making a change. And you are awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks, Sarah.
You're welcome.